When I first wanted to play Disco Elysium, my brain just said no. And you know how important consent is, so I just put the game down. No, my brain was dopamine fried by another game at the time. So when I downloaded Disco Elysium and clicked play and went through the admittedly beautiful but very slow opening, I was really not feeling the numbed out buzz, the coke. I mean, the other game made me feel, so I... The only thing was that I had made a resolution to introduce more constructive experiences to my life than the other games. So to placate my conscience, I told myself I'd play more tomorrow and booted up the game that shall not be named. This was one of the biggest mistakes of my life, right alongside choosing to download the game that shall not be named in the first place. But years down the line, when I had wisened up, healed my brain up a little, and had it back to myself, instead of the game that shall not be named, I tried to play Disco Elysium again, and this time, I fell in love. Disco Elysium, some would argue, is all about the writing. The writing is the star of the show, with a script well over 1 million words, and for those of us that are pure gamers and have Mountain Dew in our veins instead of blood and don't do cringe nerd shit like read, a novel is typically 80 to 100,000 words, so 1 million words is a lot more than that, yeah. Because of this GigaChad script, the dialogue options in the game offer an incredible range of interactions that define character dynamics and outcomes. Sometimes, we'll talk about it, I could harp on about just the sheer quantity of the writing, but the quality of the writing is pretty amazing too. The lead writer, Helen Hinpie, other than having a difficult to pronounce name, is also an excellent writer. Her and her team of writers blew it out of the park with the whole turning prose into poetry thing. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that I do not like pseudo-intellectual forced word vomit where you can describe the same thing with simpler, lesser words. Don't use the King's English where the vernacular would suffice. Truly, I feel like a man of the people. The ability to turn sentences into flowing art is rare, and it doesn't come off often, but when it does, it really is something to behold. This game is one of the very few examples of times it does come off. Not always, but most of the time the game does manage it, and it is still a great achievement given how fucking difficult it is to manage in the first place. Here, have a listen to the intro for example.
There is nothing, only warm primordial blackness. Your conscious ferments in it, no larger than a single grain of malt. You don't have to do anything anymore, ever, never, ever. Never, ever, ever, baby. An inordinate amount of time passes. It is utterly void of struggle. No ex-wives are contained within it.
An awareness creeps up on you. A mass lies hidden in your dead angle, soaking in some lurid acidic sauce. It's bloated and shameful. A ball of meat surrounding you. This is a terrible line of questioning, and it will only lead to more awareness of the meat thing.
There, no ball of meat, no light in the formless nothing. Just night swimming. Coming right up, sir. Smooth passage. Alright, nothing town to fuck all borough. Great choice, Elder One. It has always been like this, and it always will. The song of death is sweet and endless. But what is this? Somewhere in the sore, bloated man meat around you. A sensation. Like a fly to the ointment, your conscience sticks to it. The limbed and headed machine of pain and undignified suffering is firing up again. It wants to walk the desert, hurting, longing, dancing to disco music.
The stench of liquor rises from your mouth, and with it, an ungodly headache. A fiery streak penetrates your skull, trying to force your eyes open. It's a sound, a clarion call from hell.
Somehow, you know what it is. A caprice to name a motor carriage.
As great as the writing is, the writing of Disco Elysium is not what I'm here to talk about today. What I'm talking about today is Disco Elysium and its merits as a role-playing video game. Now, in most good role-playing games, your character is a blank slate. You're given a character builder and you get to choose the name of the character and most of the time what your character looks like. That is regarded as the standard good approach even by legends in the industry like Tim Kaine, the creator of Fallout. Disco Elysium forgoes this for a far more interesting approach. The approach being that you're a drunk who drank so hard that he got amnesia. Impressive. It is both simple and genius because the player gets a blank slate of a character who doesn't even remember his own name, and you as the developer or writer get to write story and dialogue around the past of a character you develop instead of the player. You are what passes for a cop in Ravachol. Well, not really. You're supposed to be a cop solving a murder, and you can go about that way with Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi, or you can become a full-time lunatic as opposed to the part-time one that lost his memory drinking and tried to strong-arm people into giving you information instead of, being a cop and strong-arming them that way. Are cops thugs? Are all cops thugs? Who's to say? In the game, you could say you get to decide what kind of animal you want to be. In terms of pure gameplay, this game is way more limiting than something like, say, Fallout New Vegas, where the world is literally your oyster. You can get out of the character builder, assign your stats, kill everyone, go anywhere you please, and not give a fuck about the story. Disco Elysium can't really afford to do that because it's trying to tell a far more linear story and it's not anything other than a tabletop CRPG. There's not interesting mechanics to explore other than experience the story and pass the skill checks. The role-playing fun is all packaged into the story, and to make sure the player does get to experience that story, the devs do unfortunately have to impose some restrictions on the player. In fact, one of the major regions of the map, the fishing village, is blocked off by some mishaps you certainly didn't have anything to do with. Oh, wink wink. And you can't go there until after 3 in-game days, which in most games probably wouldn't be a lot. But time passes very slowly in Disco Elysium, and to make it pass faster, you have to buy books and then read them. And books are fucking expensive. Being a cop is a lot of boring legwork and asking questions, which sometimes lead to interesting conversations, all of which takes time, and it shows in this game. So if you decide to play as a cop and not any variants of the many deranged lunatics you can pick from, not mutually exclusive from the cop, by the way, you end up in the third half of the game by the time you get to the fishing village. The linear story is, well, pretty good, still a drawback to the RPG mechanics of the game, but what if I told you that the story isn't really where you're gonna have the most fun in Disco Elysium? You're gonna have fun talking to people. That's right, reading. Or listening to them if you download the director's cut instead of the first one. People getting to know you, you getting to know them, and you getting to know yourself through them, because again, you literally do not remember your own name. In this quest of knowing, you have so many options, so many routes you can go, so many people you can be, that it really brings the role-playing out of this role-playing game. For example, on the first day when you wake up from your drunken stupor in the whirling in rags after causing considerable, an impressive amount of property damage and damage to anyone's self-esteem if you try to have fuck with a girl upstairs, if you know you know. You head down to meet Lieutenant Kim Kitsuragi. Now, you can pretend you know what the fuck is going on. You can tell him the truth, or you can just be weird. I believe it's aloofness as a coping mechanism for when you don't have drugs to drown out the pain you're feeling. The role-playing and the predefined character mesh together in a harmonious way, and it makes a game with not only great role-playing elements, but a sense of ludo-narrative harmony that few other games can manage. When you step outside of the whirling in rags for the first time, you're once again hit in the face with beautiful prose.
The spring thaw must be here. The snow is melting. Looking up at the sky, cold water dripping from your hair. Grey sky like great battleships, clouds colliding with one another. Rain falls down on the world. Your shirt sticks to your chest. The shoulders of your disco blazer grow heavy. The cold finds its way in under your skin. You shiver, and the city shivers with you. You're not dressed for this weather. You should get an overcoat or a patrol cloak. Sheets of rain over the water, a flight of stairs leading into the ocean. Wave after wave washing the coast of Martinaise, with its motorboats and gently swaying reeds. The ruins of a half-sunken sea fort crumble on an inlet beyond the Bay of Revachol. Ghosts rise into the sky.
From here on out, the game opens up. You can go meet Everett Clare, the local union leader, and ask him for help solving the murder, and prior to that, getting the goddamn body out of the tree because you were too busy partying hardcore disco style the first 2 days you were here to notice it. If you haven't noticed already, you are the cool cop. You can try to conduct the investigation on your own and go to Everett when you have a lot more to negotiate with instead of deadly dick and no memory. You can take an interest in Martinaise's mysteries, a mostly poor neighborhood wary of cops, or as they like to call them, pigs. Technically, you aren't even cops. You're part of the RCM, which is the Revachol's Citizens Militia, which is cops but way worse managed, funded, or restrained. Still, the game does a pretty good job of depicting cop culture and how it constructively or mostly destructively interferes with the Martinaise culture. Martinaise is not only wary of cops or pigs, but also of rich ozone whores on their pleasure crafts, pretending they don't understand why they're so hated. There's many problems you can tackle in this game, sometimes all at once, but the body hanging in the backyard of the whirling in rags is definitely your primary objective and what you're here for. Without going too much into spoilers, you can become a new cop, become a not cop altogether, or just abandon humanity and become a disco animal throughout the course of the game, all while solving the murder. The freedom of who you want to be isn't thrust in your face with a character creator, although you can pick skills which are like 7 characters and 1 character talking to you all at the same time. And no, that sounds like schizophrenia, and it kinda is, but it kinda isn't, and is a great gameplay mechanic instead. I have a whole separate video for that. In fact, I think I have many separate videos for many things in Disco Elysium that I might just combine into one big video when the production budget increases, so please like and subscribe, okay? I need this. Anyway, the freedom of who you wish to be or what kind of animal you wish to become is woven into the gameplay, into the skills you decide to invest in and use, in the ways you decide to go about uncovering the tantalizing mysteries of Martinaise and the murder in Martinaise. The world of Disco Elysium is obviously amazing. There's lines upon lines of dialogue explaining the world building, which again will have its own video. Robert Kurwitz and his team spent 15 years of their lives building Elysium, and it got stolen from under their noses because of a moment's negligence. Well, that and corporate greed. I listened to a talk that Robert Kurwitz gave at Game Camp France 2024, and apparently they were set to release a spy thriller inspired by the Bureau. Great TV show, by the way, the greatest thing the French have created by far, and you should definitely watch it. But he was talking about how a real test of the world you've built is a spy thriller, and that makes sense. You infiltrate another country, you have to learn their culture, their tongue, their way of how their institutions work, but at the same time you'd have a whole nother culture / tongue back home. It gets even more complicated if you go into the way of the Bureau and have multiple agents in multiple countries. Pakistan mentioned, by the way. And then you have to contend with all these little details in your world. How are all these people different? In what ways are they the same? How do they complement each other? How do they not complement each other? You can answer a lot of real life questions that would hold a lot more tension in your fictional world with a lot less pressure because, well, people don't feel as strongly about fictional racism. Like Measurehead in Disco Elysium. And I know I say this a lot, but the politics of Disco Elysium deserve their own video. I just wanted to yap about the role-playing mechanics a bit. That's it. See you guys soon. Goodbye.